Welcome back to the Clarity Project. Today, I have Krista Kilbane. Did I say that right?
You
Krista
did.
Kilbane. She is a licensed clinical social worker, an ADHD specialist, and the founder of Prosthetic Executive Function. And so, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you started off into this or getting into this?
Okay. So I graduated UT in 96 and went into clinical therapy, got my own practice. And so I was an expert in working with adults with anxiety. And so anxiety was my area of specialty. Then I decided to take some time off to have a family, came back, and went back to school and became a special ed teacher. I thought, well, I'll spend some time with my kids in school, which never happened because I was very busy because I was a special ed teacher. So having a therapy background in special ed was a good combination. And then my kids started getting older. I left the school district, came back, opened my private practice, and everyone that started coming to me, I'd clear their anxiety and there'd be something left. And what was left was ADHD. And in the interim, I was diagnosed with ADHD when my son was diagnosed in first grade.
Oh, I see. So when you say, so I know that ADHD has a lot of what's called co-occurring disorders, anxiety being one of them. So how would, I guess, from solving the anxiety lead to the ADHD, which, given that they're both coexisting, how would that process work?
So we call it in the field, it's comorbidity, right? What occurs with. So anxiety is comorbid with ADHD, and you can have ADHD and you can have anxiety. Right. A lot of times I'll see that. A lot of times I'll see people have ADHD and they have anxiety because they have ADHD because the brain, the fight, flight, or freeze brain is overstimulated in ADHD, and that's kind of the anxiety brain. And so my job as a clinician and a coach, that's why we'll talk about that later, coaching, but as a clinician, I'm there to see what is there and what is a cause of something else. Okay. So I would treat their anxiety with, cognitive behavioral. I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist. So I treat their anxiety and there would be something left, is kind of how I would see it. Sometimes they present with depression too. So I'd see depression. Right. And I've started seeing a lot of situational depression, situational anxiety related to ADHD. Because now I'm doing the opposite. I'm treating ADHD. I screen a lot of people when they come in, I'll put it that way. So I'm looking for anxiety and depression to be managed when people come into me now as coaching. But when I start managing their ADHD, I see their depression and their anxiety improve. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about clinical depression, clinical anxiety. I'm talking about related to their ADHD.
What's the difference between the clinical versus just situational?
Situational is because you can't get stuff done, it causes you increased amounts of stress. Okay. So increased amounts of stress would be technically called anxiety, right? So people don't know that, which you wouldn't know that. You're just like, But I could give you a stress test and see that you don't have clinical anxiety. Your stress is increased, but it's going to look like, anxiety. If you're not getting out of bed because you're not getting stuff done, that's going to look like depression. But when you start getting stuff done, you get out of bed, those symptoms that looked like depression are gone. People that have ADHD can also have clinical depression, and it's really a challenge to treat because even if they're learning tools to manage their ADHD, they're still showing some signs of depression, right? Gotcha. So this is where medication would come in to help you treat your depression. Right. So it's that's what they teach us in therapy. In school for therapy is we're always ruling out. We're always looking at what isn't.
Right. And it's very tough too, because some, especially with ADHD, I know there's a lot of things that get overlooked because a lot of things with ADHD can be seen as depression or anxiety or something else. And
bipolar. You might have heard bipolar come up.
It's very easy for it to be overlooked. But you did mention you were diagnosed later in life as an ADHD. Was this before you started this practice, during?
It was it was before I started this practice. Because so here's the key that I'll tell everybody. about ADHD. If you're going to work with someone to help you with your ADHD, I don't care what it is, make sure they have ADHD.
I see.
It's something that people don't understand unless they have.
Why do you say that?
I've seen it. I could show you all my intake calls of people like, I've been to therapy, I've been to a business coach, I've been to this, I've been to that. I'm like, did any of them have ADHD? And they're like, no. And I'm like, you can't learn from someone with a neurotypical processor how to manage your neurodivergent processor because they don't understand it. They just don't. 70+% of the population is neurotypical.
Right.
There's a neurodivergent population, and ADHD makes up about 8 to 10% of that.
Gotcha. What if said person has someone in their life who does struggle with ADHD, who is diagnosed with ADHD? Does that give them a little more credibility towards being an option?
You mean talking about somebody helping them, or are you talking about a partner, or are you talking about somebody helping them?
Somebody helping them.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the route you're going, right?
Yeah, that's the route I'm going. If you're going to work with a business coach, I would make sure they have ADHD.
Gotcha. Okay.
If I was going to work with this is where people will come to me and say, I had a guy this morning, I did intake calls this morning, and he said, I've worked with 3 business coaches, I've worked with 3 therapists, and they're just not understanding my vibe. And I said, do they have ADHD? And he's like, I don't think so. And I said, it's not your vibe, they're not understanding. It's your ADHD, they're not understanding.
Gotcha.
Which is a vibe right. to some degree, but it's also a disability, right? It's a disability. It's legit.
Gotcha. So I want to go back onto the diagnosed later in life. So I've been diagnosed my whole life.
Okay.
And I was curious, as someone who was diagnosed a little bit later in life, I don't know if it really causes a disgruntle in your life after the diagnosis, but I was wondering, what was it like to, I guess, if you had to, almost rebuild yourself from what you knew versus what you learned about this diagnosis?
So the common thing that you'll find people later in life diagnosed with, they say 2 things. Holy crap. Why didn't someone tell me sooner? And so I went through graduate school knowing I had ADHD, and I just thought I was weird because I had to highlight everything and I had to see everything, and I had piles of stacks everywhere. And so I wish my life would have been a little bit easier, I guess, maybe, if somebody would have noticed that I had it. I always thought I was just kind of off. You're going to hear people say they were a lot. That's the thing I hear from a lot of clients, is they felt like they were a lot growing up. And so if somebody knew, because ADHD becomes it's my problem type of thing when you don't realize that that's what you have. Even when you know you have it, you still kind of blame yourself for it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah. What was, I guess, the biggest struggle you had growing up with ADHD?
Well, it's funny because
despite the fact you didn't know you had it, right?
Well, I'll tell you 2 things my mom used to say to me, and it's funny because now that we know, and my mom has ADHD and she's undiagnosed, so there you go. It doesn't even matter at this point. I'm like, Mom, you just keep carrying on. You're doing fine. But when I was younger, she said I was the social butterfly, which meant, she said Saturday morning I'd leave the house, not come home till about 5 p.m. And I'd tell her every story that was going on in the neighborhood.
Love it.
And she also called me the centipede. She said she'd walk in the door and she'd know when I was home because all my shoes were like lined up along the hallway because I never put them away.
Yeah.
Right. So it was a struggle as a kid, feeling like I was lazy or feeling like I didn't care. Those are kind of the themes, right? If you tried harder, and I couldn't figure it out because I was pretty bright.
Oh yeah.
But I had ADHD. I didn't know how I got through high school, to be honest. I think I got an A in psychology, and the rest I don't care. I was like, I don't care, because I wasn't interested in any of it. But I was a good student because I didn't want to get in trouble. But I wasn't thriving in high school either. I thought it was a waste of time. I was like, just give me some psychology classes and get me out of here.
Well, yeah, because I mean, that's the thing.
So if somebody would have seen that, they could have guided me. So I guess the missed opportunities would be my regret from not knowing earlier, and maybe some compassion from family for that, instead of Krista being the spaced out one.
Was that a typical label for you? As I have a friend who has been labeled as like an airhead or spaced out. Was that typical for you?
And I was the youngest. I have an older brother who's 4 years older, and he's very neurotypical. and I'm very neurodivergent. And so I was just kind of like oh, what are we going to do with her? Misunderstood, very much so. And then kind of blamed for the things I couldn't do. Clean up your room. How come you just can't make your bed every day when I ask you to do it every day? Where's your notebook from school? That's important. How come you didn't bring it home? All those things on me, my self-esteem getting affected by it.
I see. Yeah, that is definitely self-esteem is definitely one of the things that is what's it called trampled down when you're younger, especially from all the repeatedness. If you were to where you are now, take a look at your younger self in a what's it called? Oh my gosh. In your office. What do you think that would look like? And what would
I tell myself I'm a badass. I would be like, you're a badass, because I never gave up. So there's some strengths of ADHD, right? I'm master manifestor. I freak everybody out. When I want something, I create it. I get it. I go. Yeah. So I'm here to say, my office is all colorful because this is my brand.
Okay.
And my brand. So it's interesting. If you look at my written brand, it's a swirl, because people with ADHD feel like they swirl all the time.
Gotcha.
So if you see anything in writing from me, like my email probably has the swirl on it. But if you look up here, these are all the lines out of the swirl. Yeah. So we're swirled, we're not swirled, and we're bold. And that's the word when I picked my brand for ADHD is bold. I feel like we're very bold. We say what we feel. That might get us in trouble too. Mm-hmm. We have no filter.
Yes, I've definitely gotten in trouble myself. But it's always been with friends, so it's not always been like the most trouble, but yeah.
We might swear like sailors, but I'll keep it clean here. That's something that I hear from a lot of people.
Really?
We've got very colorful language.
That's interesting, because I don't use colorful language that often. So.
Well, you might have been socialized that it wasn't appropriate, so that was probably good for you. I'm a Gen X, so I raised myself.
That's fair. Yes, perfect. So where did you get bold for your brand name or brand?
Well, it's interesting because I have an associate's degree in fashion merchandising.
Oh.
So color, it was what my interest was, and right out of high school was fashion merchandising. And so color came to me first because I've always been drawn to color. And so when I looked at the colors I was drawn to, which is the turquoise, I have a wall in my home that's turquoise also. It just reminded me that it's bold, that my soul is bold. And gotcha. So the colors represent the boldness. And bold, if you want it more generalized, I want people with ADHD to remember their superpower of their top-down processing, which means you see the big picture, which, I have people, my friends that are neurotypical will be like, I don't know how you do it, but you're like kind of a unicorn. Well, I take that as a compliment. And unicorns are bold. I know they don't exist, but if they did, they'd be bold.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They're unusual.
Yes.
I'm okay with being unusual, but again, because I have that big picture processor, I can create a vision for myself. Here's where my problem starts. So top-down processors can create a vision for themselves. They can see what they want easily. They can build it out. The bottom-up processing, which is a neurotypical process, is the detail. Well, how do I do that? That's where executive function comes in. We get in trouble. And so I can create a beautiful online course in my head, but you're never going to see it.
Right.
Because I have to go into bottom-up processing the details of how I'm going to hold on to all those details and how I'm going to organize and prioritize them and create a plan in time to do that.
Sure. Can you go a little more into that?
Well, that's what my signature course is about.
I see.
So I'll put a little plug in there. So my trademark is prosthetic executive function.
Okay.
So this is what I tell people when I talk to them on the phone, because they want to know, what do you do? What are you going to do for me? Whatever. How do you set yourself apart? I didn't try to set myself apart. I tried to manage myself. And as a therapist, I realized there's no modality. I can't go pick up Erickson's, theory of development. I can't pick up Freud's theory of psychoanalytics. There's nothing like that for ADHD. There's no modality to treat people with ADHD. Mm-hmm. So what I did is I set out to figure out what was wrong with me. And executive function kept coming up all the time. That was the thing. There's many things going on in the ADHD brain because it's a neurodevelopmental disorder. Mm-hmm. But the one that keeps coming back is executive function. And so I knew enough that if I could figure out what it was, I could create something, a prosthetic for myself. And a prosthetic just means tools that are analog that help me hold on to information. So the executive function, the first 3 steps are capture, organize, and plan. I'm summarizing that, but if you look into an executive function, you got to learn how to hold on to what comes in. Mm-hmm. You hold it, you can organize and prioritize it. If you can do that, you can make a plan. And so that's what I walk people through. I teach them how to make a prosthetic. And prosthetic just means if I lost my arm, I would get a prosthetic. Right. It's not going to be as perfect as the one I have, but it's going to get the job done. Mm-hmm. So I help people with analog tools because digital disappears. Right. Digital you can grow to with my program, but you can't start with digital because if I look at my phone, this is not an organizational tool. Okay. It's 500 different things to me.
I see. So what did this look like when you were creating this course?
Depends on which year you ask me.
From the initial idea to, you mentioned the top-down perspective to starting from the bottom and going up.
Yeah, okay. So top-down processing, if you Google that, is going to talk about how our brain processes with a top-down processing system, and that's an ADHD system. Mm-hmm. Bottom-up processing is going to talk about how neurotypicals build things up to get to the big picture. So how did I do that? I saw the big picture like that. Okay. So I knew. I was like, online course, prosthetic executive function. I looked at Dr. Barkley. I looked at...
Great resource, by the way, Dr. Barkley.
Yeah, I looked at him. I looked at some of the others, and I wanted to get a consensus on executive function because there's a lot of literature out there that people like you and I are writing, about ADHD, which is great because it's a personal perspective. Right. But I needed to know the fathers or the mothers, which there weren't any, but the fathers of ADHD. I wanted to know their opinion because they've been doing it the longest and they've been doing the most research.
Right.
And so what I did is I just set out to find out what was known about this executive function. And so my big picture was I've got to create modules that people can go through, right? So here's the big picture. I see people learning about executive function, giving them tools, and then they're using them. Mm-hmm. That was the big picture. But then I had to take that apart and I had to come down to this bottom-up processing and be like, okay, if I were to create this online course, what would I do first? What would I do next? Then what would I do? And I'm holding all this. I teach people a mind mapping, brainstorming kind of way to organize and prioritize for ADHD. Right. And so I created all that for myself. And then created a plan. Where did I have time to do what I wanted to do? Just because I created all that doesn't mean there's time in reality to do that. Being a neurotypical processor, I don't want to say I turn you into neurotypical because I don't, because you'd kill me if I did. You stay neurodivergent, but you learn a neurotypical process of how to do detailed work. But if you think about it, just the word detail slows you down. It means slowing down. Mm-hmm. People with ADHD don't like to be slowed down.
Well, definitely not. No.
And myself included. So I had to literally see, do I have time on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday? Because in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I'm going to get this done. And it's like nothing to show for it. Uh-huh. So I scheduled it out. Monday I work on module 1. Then I work on, and I've got a whole system up here. This is my long-term prosthetic, and I have a short-term prosthetic that I use. So I planned out a year, and just every day, not every day, I don't want to lie, make it sound like I did it that easily. That's not true. Planned out a year, and then I worked in real time of when did I really have time to dedicate to working on the online course.
Okay.
And that's what I teach people how to do. Idealistic time means nothing. Realistic time means I see it and it's there.
Gotcha. And you're working on it, actively working on it. Yes.
Yeah.
So, what has been your experience, like just overall, with ADHD, given you were diagnosed at a later stage? I know you kind of mentioned it briefly in this, what you said previously, but I'm curious about the general overall
Like how it's been
experience.
for me over
Oh,
the
yes.
years.
Yes. How long ago were you diagnosed?
My son, he was in first grade and he's 23. So
Okay.
it's been about 13 years. And
Gotcha.
it's funny because I really went into ADHD specifically right before the pandemic and then right after the pandemic. It's been all ADHD. I don't have any therapy clients per se.
Okay.
So getting diagnosed, then I had two children that had it. So I had to go through that process.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was a special ed teacher. I knew I had it when I was a special ed teacher. So I was a good special ed teacher
Okay.
because I could advocate for children. And I worked with children from kindergarten to high school. I have clients now from 18 to 73. So I've seen it throughout
Oh, wow.
the developmental span. How it's been for me, there's a calming effect that comes when you realize it's a disability.
Mm-hmm.
There's a calming effect that comes when you start utilizing an executive function because I can hold on to what comes in. I teach my clients only hold it once. So when I have a bunch of ideas coming at me, I just hold on to them, capture them, and then I can go back to them. And so my life feels calmer. I don't feel like I'm losing track of things. I run a practice for people with ADHD, and I tell them I show up consistently and I show up professionally. And so for me, it's been, since I started managing it for others and myself, it's been great.
Okay.
Before that, before I knew I had it,
Mm-hmm.
and probably the only reason I acted on it when I found out I had it is because I knew I had to start helping other people. And I can't help you if I haven't helped myself. That's
Right.
hypocrisy at its best.
Right.
And I tell clients I'm not going to show up saying for you to do something that I haven't done either.
Mm-hmm.
That's my ethical belief that I don't want to act like I know what I'm doing. I want to know what I'm doing. And I want it to come across like that. So I still have moments. There's a moment where I was at the bank and I came out of the bank. This is what I tell my ADHD clients. I teach them tools. But on the weekends, I don't necessarily use my tools because that's my unstructured time. I've trained myself to have structured and unstructured time. So during my unstructured time, I have to be me and I have to be in my ADHD world. Mm-hmm. So I'm not fixed. I'm just using tools to manage it.
Gotcha.
So we went to the bank on a Saturday. My partner waited in the car. And so I get out of the car and I go to the bank and I come out and I get back in the car and I put my seatbelt on and I turn and first of all, I put my seatbelt on, I'm talking. Mm-hmm. And I turn and I look and that is not my partner. And the poor guy was like this. He was just like backing up like I had the plague. I was like, oh, wrong car. Oh, took my seatbelt off, got off, and bounced on over to my car. John's like, what the? And I'm like, hey, it's a black car. It's the same. It looks the same. He's like, it's not the same car. I'm like,
it happens. It happens.
It happens. I bought a living room chair once. And I paid like $300 for it. And I thought that was such a great deal for the living room chair. And when it came, it was this big.
Really?
Because it was for a dollhouse.
Ah, I see.
So I still get tripped up on the details. I'll put it that way.
Yes, that does explain. Yeah, that's the same thing with me. The bank story, getting in the wrong car, hasn't happened to me since I was a child, but it's always very weird when you realize that's not my parent or that's not the person I'm looking for.
Yeah. Exactly. You grab someone's hand at the grocery store.
Yeah, exactly.
Wrong person. Yeah.
I think I was in I was in Colorado last year, and it was just a ADHD trip all around. Like I had all my belongings in one of my bags, but for some reason I misplaced my wallet and we were going out to eat, and our friends had just arrived, and I was like, uh-oh, I cannot find my wallet. So we spent like the next 10 minutes looking for my wallet, and it was in my bag.
It's in your bag.
Where I left it, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I came back, I put it back in my bag, but didn't. So there's a like zipper that goes all across the back of the backpack.
Right. So it all went down. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
One place.
I had my inhaler, my wallet, and something else. I don't remember. But we had gone on a hike the next day, and I was getting tired, so I went to grab water from my backpack. Realized the zipper was open. Looked inside of it, and there was nothing in there. So we had to spend like 15 minutes trying to look for my stuff, which thankfully we did find it. But yeah, that was just like an all around, just forgetting everything, losing things. Oh man, geez, it was just all around ADHD galore.
Yeah.
Terrible, but
yeah.
It was a fun trip overall, which is always a good thing.
That's good. My partner has ADHD, so we'll just be like details. Like we'll book a flight to somewhere and we'll think it's at 10 a.m. and it's at 10 p.m. or something. Just be like, oh yeah, details.
Like... Yes, the details matter. I'm with a roommate, and he's very much neurotypical, and I've known him for about 10 years. But he's always dogging on me about like forgetting the laundry or leaving things out, or especially because we have a cat, and the cat likes to get into our things, so it's like, you can't be leaving these things out, and I'm like, I know, but it can't.
My shirt reflects you.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yes, it's funny because our cat's a black cat.
Is it a black cat? That's funny. We have 2 cats here. They're usually around, but yeah. It just, the details are just not going to be second nature for us. Mm-hmm. And a sense of humor is a must, I think, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's just remembering that you've got some superpowers, so it's not all bad.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just beating yourself down and
Yeah. There's a mindset with ADHD that you got to be careful. Because I work with a lot of introverts. I would have never thought there was an introverted ADHD person, but I'd say the majority, maybe 60% of my clients are introverted ADHDs. And I have a lot of engineers that come. Mm-hmm.
What does that look like, an introverted ADHD?
It's different. They're going to be more in feeling the overwhelm. So there's an overwhelm that comes with the disorganization, and then there's an overwhelm that comes with the responsibility of being social or having to be social. And this is the person that might ghost you, and you think, what a jerk. But it's like, they're not ghosting you because they're a jerk. They're ghosting you because they're overstimulated and they don't want to hurt your feelings and tell you. So it's just interesting. There's introverted, extroverted, there's engineers, there's, I have people that direct shows, showrunners and actors. And so it's interesting that there's a good spectrum of us out there.
Very diverse. Very
diverse.
So I was looking at your website, and there is a section where I think it's actually part of your course, From Chaos to Clarity, which, by the way, I love it because the Clarity Project, so it fits in perfectly.
Right.
But I was wondering, what does the chaos look like? And 2, what does the clarity look like?
So the chaos would be, another name for chaos that people use would be overwhelm.
Okay, interesting.
And so overwhelm would be, because overwhelm is going to lead to shutdown. So chaos, people are going to feel like, the biggest thing about ADHD is people feel like they're kind of like in the same loop. Like they might get stuff done, and then they're getting stuff done, and then they're not getting stuff done. And then they're back to, oh my gosh, I'm not getting stuff done again. And now it's kind of like it never ends. Right. So the chaos is not finding the solution, not finding the answer to finally manage your ADHD. Mm-hmm. And so the clarity, why I named it, because people enter with chaos. Right. To me as a coach or to my program, they enter with chaos. And what I want them to leave with is clarity. And so clarity to me, when it comes to my work with clients or the course, is tools to manage their ADHD, because you're going to fall off your bike, which is clarity. You're going to go into chaos, but you're going to be able to get back up and use the same tools over and over again to make you realize that you have the answers. You can stop searching for the answers.
Gotcha.
I think that's the biggest thing that people have is they come in chaos, they get tools to help them with clarity. And down the road, if they ever get into chaos again, they can get themselves back into clarity. That's why I named it that.
Of these tools. Gotcha.
Say it again?
Through the use of these tools.
Yeah, and the tools are following what an executive function does. We don't have it in here working great, so we have to create it out here. And so everything that comes in, all your tasks and projects need to be held. They need to be organized and prioritized for time, what's necessary, et cetera. Then a plan. And so that's the tools that I teach them is how to do that. And then let's say they go on vacation, they come back, they forget they have the tools. That happens all the time. People forget they have them. Then they go into overwhelm. They go into chaos. Mm-hmm. And they're like, wait, have I used my tools? Have I captured? Gotcha. I teach people, I have a bracelet where I teach them. It says, have I captured it?
Okay. And is that one of the tools to capture like the thought that's going on in your brain?
Yeah. Capture is an executive function. And it's one of the ones we miss. We don't have a captures mitt to catch all the ideas and everything in projects that come in. So they come in, some get our attention, and then some go.
Right.
What gets our attention is interesting, challenging, or urgent things. And that nowhere in there did I say important.
That's true. Yeah.
But that's where we get in trouble. We need to write down what's important. We need to write down what's interesting. So if something interesting comes in, I might get diverted over here and leave all the important stuff and forget I was even working on the important stuff.
Right.
Altogether. That's why it's a distraction. It's an attention deficit. We can pay attention. It just has to be interesting or challenging or urgent.
I like that you mentioned that you didn't say important because it is very much an ADHD thing too. Is it interesting to me? Do I find this fun? Am I going to challenge myself? And those are really like the big things. It's just not like important things don't really matter to us. So I really love that, that you mentioned that.
I can tell you, top-down processing means we come at big picture and it's interest-based. Bottom-up processing is importance-based. Details, importance. We are big picture, interest. So I teach people how to create an executive function, which is going to help them create bottom up, create from the details, and be able to focus on what's important. Right. They're going to be able to hold on to everything so they can determine what's important. Mm-hmm. If I'm only bringing a bottom up, detail-oriented, importance-driven neurology based processing on board, and it's through analog tools. It's never going to be in your brain.
Gotcha. What do you mean by analog tools?
Analog is just writing, paper, pencil.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Would this work? I have a tablet.
Yeah, because you're holding it. That's capture. It's holding it.
Okay, perfect. I know it's still digital, but it works both ways, analog and digital.
As long as you're looking at it every day. I teach them to use it daily also, so you have to have a daily system that you use.
Perfect. What is one ADHD behavior that you look back on and you're just like, oh man, that is such an ADHD thing?
I would say for me, I used to say this to people all the time. I'd say, I wish I got credit for all the things I thought in my head that I did, that I didn't actually do. Like text the friend back or turn in the paper or write the paper or, I'm like, wouldn't that be nice if I got credit for all those things that I did in my head? I did all the work. I just didn't do all the work. I don't have friends like that.
I used to, when I was younger, back in school, I used to, like, my parents would wake me up by, like, just turning on the lights and just, like, saying, hey, wake up. I used to have, like, these dreams. Like, I was awake but not fully awake. I had these dreams that I was up and ready. And then I would actually wake up and I'd be just in my pajamas and I'd be like, what's going on? I was ready like 2 minutes ago. Why is this happening to me? And I firmly believe that I actually was ready. So when I woke up, it was just such a
disappointment.
Yes. Because I'd be in trouble and it'd be like, what? I was ready. I promise.
You're like, I already did this.
Yes.
Yeah. Extra work, the extra credit that you already did that you didn't get credit for.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so that is just thinking all these things, but not actually executing them.
Yeah. I wish I always wanted to be the person that could take my ideas into action.
Okay.
And I beat myself up for years just thinking that it was me. Like, what is wrong with you? You know what to do. Why aren't you doing it? And it was like, that was so frustrating. And this is the hopelessness that people with ADHD can start getting, because they're like, it's not I won't do something, it's I can't do something. Again, because it's an executive function. It's not try harder. But back then I was like, I have a master's degree. I've raised 2 kids, kept kids' lives or whatever. It's like I've raised babies. I'm like, why can't I consistently do X, Y, Z? What is wrong with me?
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
So I think
that is
that
one of the things that many people don't seem to understand. Many neurotypical people don't.
Yeah,
understand.
They wouldn't, because they don't experience it.
Exactly. Like, how could they? Like, you can't expect them to understand. Oh, I really want to do this, but this couch is super comfortable.
Yeah, it's not willpower.
Oh,
I think the word procrastination was created by neurotypicals also. I call it resistance. I don't call it procrastination, because that implies that I'm not doing something. And it's like, there's a resistance. I don't know the first step. There's an emotional response. There's something going on is why I'm not doing something.
Right.
So we talk about that too in the course. I talk about procrastination not being a real term, according to me.
I see.
Like a neurotypical came up with it to try to figure out why the hell we just don't do what we say we'll do. Or what we should do because it's important.
Right. Oh yeah, 100%. You mentioned, so as a coach,
Right.
Coaching versus therapy. What are the differences between the two?
So, in general, coaching versus therapy is coaching. Therapy deals with the past and coaching deals with the future. I'll put it that way.
I see.
That's a good way to remember. But so, like in therapy, I'd work with your anxiety, and coaching, I'd work with your stress. Because I'm not looking for your rooted understanding of your anxiety. I'm looking for how your stress is keeping you from moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to ADHD, the reason, this is a question I get asked a lot because I am a therapist. I've been a therapist for a long time.
Right.
Why go into coaching when you could have just worked with people with ADHD? Because it's in the DSM. I can be an out-of-network, I'm an out-of-network provider for people in Texas with ADHD. But I got licensed as a coach because I want to be more hands-on. I'm more directive. I'm a teacher, so I'm going to teach you things. I'm going to tell you things. Right. In therapy, I'm going to listen to you, and you're going to drive that. And you're going to get really tired of me not telling you things. When people have ADHD, they want more direction.
I see.
And so you coming in and telling me about your week and then tell me how that affected you, and me going, oh, okay, you could try this next time or whatever, is not enough. I need to be like, here's something tangible that you can try.
Right.
And so I allow people to text me within reason also, which you'd never do as a therapist. Because I'd be solving all their problems all day, every day. Yeah. So now it's other.
I don't remember who says this, and I may be butchering the quote, but I think anxiety comes from not getting things done, and the only way to solve it is to start on something, start on a task. And I don't remember who says that, but I think that's just such a powerful quote because, I mean, you said it's future based. So if I'm gonna think about, oh, I need to do this podcast episode, and I'm stressing about, oh, I'm stressing about really needing to do the podcast episode, and the anxiety coming from that, then the only solution is to actually, okay, email this person, okay, do all the research, okay, make all of my notes. And then from that, I become prepared. I feel more prepared than I would have if I had just been thinking about the thing, and now here I am on the podcast episode. So
And everywhere. Yeah.
yes,
So somewhere along the lines, you held on to that information. You started compiling information somewhere. So you started capturing, and then you started organizing what you captured.
yes, yes.
And then you put it in a time frame because you said, were these times that you can meet. So you brought it into reality.
Right. Yes. Which is a really good skill that I believe I have. I mean, I've been told by other people that it's a really good skill to have. So
it is a good skill to have, especially when you have ADHD. Knowing that, so what will help you moving forward is continually knowing that you can. So this is a good question to bring to light. A lot of people ask me, how do I increase my motivation? Mm-hmm. You increase your motivation by focusing on what you have done, not by what you haven't done.
What do you mean?
So if you have 50 things to do and you're beating yourself up because you haven't done them, you remind yourself what you have done, and then it sends your brain a message that you can do things, and then you start looking at your list and go, well, I could do that.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. I like that. Yeah. And so, as a coach and a therapist, why would I choose one over the other?
Coaching for ADHD, I'm going to go back to pick someone who has it because you'll be less frustrated. But therapy is really going to, there's nobody I know really that does it in Austin. If you're in Austin, you want a therapist to help you with your ADHD. I'm not sure their modality, like what they're using, what they're coming from. Mm-hmm. I found limitations by just having people come in and trying to help them manage their ADHD by helping decrease their anxiety. So to me, I just see that coaching is the only way because it needs to be more hands-on.
Gotcha. More directive.
More directive.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm involved with you. It's not I'm watching you or I'm standing near you. It's like we are in this together. And it's like, I'm a behavioral specialist at this point. After all my years of experience, you give me a behavior. I've got two boys. I've got a 23-year-old, 25, and they'll, Mom, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, you need to, and they're like, no, you just need to listen. I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. Can't help myself. I'm like, please help me solve everybody's problems.
And can coaching and therapy, like in your opinion, go hand in hand? Are there similarities that go into each one?
I would suggest, here's what I suggest. So people come to me and they're dealing with anxiety or depression. Mm-hmm. They notice that. I'm going to say therapy all the way.
Okay.
And this is how I look at it too. You can't really, to me, what I've seen in my expert opinion is when people come to me with all three of those, their anxiety and their depression have to be managed to some degree. Like we were talking about, depression might have to be managed with medication. Because ADHD takes a back seat. Anxiety is going to get your attention and depression is going to get your attention and ADHD is going to take a back seat. But ADHD is fueling both of them.
I see.
So when people come to me, I do an intake and I make sure that they're ready to work on their ADHD. Because I don't want to be, the people that I haven't found success with are the ones that come to me with ADHD. And I learned this about 4 years ago. So now I'm more discerning when I work with people, when I do the intake. Is I look for their management of their anxiety and their depression. That if they have those, they've been diagnosed with those, they have a understanding of them, they're managed, then we can deal with the ADHD. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't, well, let me put that. If you were looking to work with somebody, I would go through, if you wanted to find someone that's not therapist background, mm-hmm. You wanted a coach, I would make sure that I'd look at their credentialing. Like, where did they get their coaching credential? Because you don't want someone that's an armchair coach that's just doing it without any experience.
Right.
And it's not regulated. Coaching is not regulated. So I would look for someone that went through it. I would look for what programs people go to be licensed for coaching ADHD. And I'd make sure that they have ADHD.
Right.
If you're going to therapy, this is where I'm a unicorn because I'm both.
Right.
But if you go to a therapist that says they specialize in ADHD, you're not going to find a lot of them. you're going to find that they're not out there. There's not a lot of them out there because I don't know, it's not their interest. I don't know what it is. It's just for me, I happened to kind of stumble upon it. It wasn't something that I woke up and said one day, oh, I want to do this. It just, all the pieces started falling into place based on who was showing up in my life. And so I wouldn't necessarily look for a therapist to manage my ADHD unless they have like a coaching background.
I see.
I'm really good at what I do because I have a strong background in anxiety and I have a strong background in all the populations. And I have a strong background as a special ed teacher. Mm-hmm. So I've seen ADHD from a school perspective. I've seen it from educating parents. I've seen it, and I'm a mom. My partner has it. We always tease and say my cat has it. Everybody has it. So I would just ask that person, where's their expertise come from? Mm-hmm. It's kind of what I would look at. And if it's coaching, what was the licensing they did? If it's therapy, what's their modality? How are they going to work with you? Because you don't want a therapy model with ADHD per se.
Right.
Because it's not going to be directive enough.
Gotcha. And given that you were a special ed teacher for a while, what have you noticed that you learned back then that you still use today in your methods?
What did I learn working with kids and young adults? I probably learned that we're all not that different.
I see it.
You bring to, when I work with people one-on-one, they bring their unique self with me. But sometimes they'll think I'm psychic because I'll know all these things about them. And I'm like, I only know these things about you because, number one, I am you, because I have ADHD. And our ADHD has nuances that people aren't going to be talking about unless they have it. And that's why I say work with someone who has it, because they understand your nuances. Mm-hmm. They understand that you want to go fast, not slow. They're not going to miss that as a characteristic of your character, that if you're more disciplined, you'd go slower. That's wrong. That is not true.
Right.
And a therapist who is like, here's your list, go home and do everything, and then you come back and you didn't do it, and they're like, well, you must not want this. And it's like, that they missed the mark again, right? Right. Because that's not how it works. And so the person with ADHD is going to be more frustrated and more beating themselves up that it's a them problem. And so if you have somebody with ADHD and you don't do something, you come back, they're like, I didn't do it. They're going to say, that's cool. That happens.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. And as someone with ADHD, you realize that this world isn't really designed for people with ADHD. I have noticed that it's kind of shifting slowly towards it, but it's still definitely not designed for someone with ADHD.
There's a generation, I think, that's getting it. There's more diagnoses, but we're only about, the literature is going to say 8%. I think it's higher, but they're going to say about 8%. So if the population of neurotypicals is about 70%, they've created all the systems pretty much.
Gotcha. Right. Yeah.
So you're going to be, and remember, you're a minority, and it's not their job to understand you. When you're a minority, it's your job to educate others.
Right. And so, given what are your thoughts on, or what do you think the neurotypical system is, and how does it differ from an ideal ADHD / neurodiverse system?
It's just what we were talking about. The neurotypical system is a bottom-up processor. So it's a detailed processor based on interest-based. So the person over here is going to get a task, and they're going to be able to discern from all their tasks what's the most, it's not interest-based, sorry, it's importance-based. Mm-hmm. They're going to look at what's important, and then they're going to start with what's the first step. So that's neurotypical. ADHD is going to be, I have this great idea. I can't wait to, it's got my interest. I can't wait to do it. And then they're going to get stuck when it comes time to do it because they need what's over here to do it.
Right.
So ideal would be this over here where you have the great idea and you have the ability to do it. So having a top-down ADHD processing and a bottom up neurotypical processing, I can stay focused on what I'm interested in, but I can also bring in what's important. And so that's what I do with my prosthetic executive function, because what I'm giving them is a bottom up processing,
Gotcha.
which they will learn how to focus on things that are interest based. Sorry, I keep saying interest.
Important.
I have ADHD. I don't care if it's important. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, as long as it's interesting.
I can't even say it because I don't care.
Yes.
Yeah. No, important. It's important to do important things.
Yes. No, I love it. Thank you very much, Krista. Do you have any final words for our viewers?
No, I was just going to say, if they want more information on me, they can go to ADHDcoachkrista.com. That's my website. The course launched on Wednesday.
Yes.
What I wanted to do, the reason I launched a course is because my hourly fee, sometimes people can't, that's not, in their price range, that's not affordable. So I wanted to create an alternative for them. So everything about creating a environmental regulation, a ability to do what we were just talking about, the bottom up processing. It's modules 1 through, there's 6 modules in the online course. And it's the same that you would get with working with me, one-on-one coaching for 3 months. So it's the same information, just in a course. So you're going to do it yourself. If you get in there and you do it yourself and you find you're struggling, there's an option in there where you can have some coaching time with me. And that's only available to people that buy the course. They get to buy like little pieces of coaching with me. And then the only other thing I offer is one-on-one coaching. And I ask people to work with me weekly for about 3 months to get this program on board for them. So there's 2 options. For ADHD Awareness Month, there's a discount for the online course. It's awareness, all caps, 20, and you'll get 20% off. The price is $249, so you get 20% off of that.
Perfect.
A coaching session, yeah, that's for the course. So you get the entire course that covers that 3 months of working with me.
Perfect. And there are about 2 weeks left. Well, 2.5.
Yeah, so. I've got my calendar here, so we are about 3 weeks out. 3 weeks from today, actually. It's Halloween.
Perfect.
Halloween's your last day.
Perfect.
Any parting words for people with ADHD? I would say, please stop blaming yourself for it. Know that it's a legit disability. And with that disability comes a lot of ability. So just find someone to help you focus on managing your ADHD so that it stops managing you.
I love that. Perfect. No, thank you. Thank you very much for coming out today. I really enjoyed having you out here today.
All right. Well, it's great talking to you. If you ever have any questions for me, let me know. I'm just out here ADHD.
Same. Yes, I am doing the same. But thank you very much, Krista. I'll see you guys next time.